Hi folks, we're Tassless Today, your pushback channel. Thank you for joining this audio live stream. Please listen to this presentation as you would a radio broadcast. In this essay, I'd like to talk about and contrast the different depiction of what is justice between 1970s lawyer shows, that were very popular in the United States. I'm thinking one now, Owen Marshall, Counselor at Law is one, but there are others. Andy Griffith was in one, and the difference in these 1960s, 1970s lawyer shows and how they depicted, again, justice, the law, evidence, false accusation, bearing false witnesses, and so on. Now, it isn't that ideology didn't creep into it, and there were examples. Say the 12 Angry Men. That was considered a classic in the 1950s when it sort of introduced the idea of, well, do the facts matter in say, murder case as this one, or should we consider sociological, ideological issues, and would that mitigate against or militate towards the accused? So, but 1970s generally, you'd be hard pressed to find a lawyer show, and again, Owen Marshall, Counsel at Law being an example, where certainly the majority of the cases that were presented were along the lines of that the innocent should go free, the innocent should not be accused, and that false accusation and malicious accusation were the big issues to fight against. Now, the idea that the innocent would go to prison was considered unthinkable. And facts and evidence and exposing the lies and the treachery of those who would bear false witness and the malice in their hearts, that was really what the show was all about. Sometimes misguided, but generally that was it. So there were cases of false accusations of rape, for example, false accusations of a whole range of things. There's a teacher falsely accused of inappropriate, intimate behaviour with a student, and so on. And so it gets to court, and the way that it was dramatically presented was the innocent dude, who's always a straight white male, by the way. The innocent guy is about to go to prison. It's all over, sort of bar the shouting. And then Owen Marshall, dramatically finds some piece of evidence which shows that the accusers were all bearing false witness and they had malicious intent and they had this. They don't sort of really make a big deal of people committing perjury and thus going to prison. It was your lies got found out, naughty, but the innocent goes free. The focus is very much on the innocent going free, and that innocent people were being subject to false allegations, and rape and child molestation were among them. And it's interesting how they also bring in the so-called experts, like the child expert says, yes, little Billie Jean was definitely abused by Billy Bob. In my professional opinion, there's no question of it. He's a, and there wasn't stuff like he's a Nazi. There wasn't that sort of stuff around it. And then it's proved, by the lawyer that all these supposed experts were really radical activists in some way. And I sort of thought, what happened? Why don't we talk about this thing? Because the radical activists have taken over the legal system today for different reasons than maybe certainly for different reasons than pursuing justice, but the very concept of justice has changed. Now, talking to people that I've met who are for example, and these are industries now, they're not people pursuing justice, industries to do with, say, rape and gender relations, child molestation, these sorts of things. They think it's quite okay to send the innocent to prison as long as they get one guilty guy. That's considered to be quite acceptable collateral damage. Well, why would anybody say that the innocent should go to prison in the hope that maybe you get one guilty one? Well, the view is that those with greater social power are really culpable anyway and they may not be directly guilty of what they're accused of, but they're guilty of abusing their social power in some way. And therefore, them going to prison is kind of a just punishment in an ideological sense. It's a just punishment for their social power. Now, who has social power? Well, straight white males. They're at the top of the social power totem pole, and they're the ones that should go to prison. They're the ones that should have to deal with a very high burden of proof, and they're the ones that, even if they're not guilty of that crime, they're kind of ideologically guilty. Guilty for slavery, for example, from hundreds of years ago. Why not that? So the actual guilt and the actual case and the evidence really don't matter in the ideological scheme of things. And these activists genuinely believe that. So that sending people to prisoners, that's fine. Yeah, you notice this sometimes. I remember many years ago, a cop pulled me over for speeding, and I said, well, I don't think I was speeding. And the cop said something, words to the effect of, well, even if you weren't speeding this time, you would have been speeding some other time, so I'm booking you for that. What? I know I'd probably been 20 years old or something at the time. But even then I thought, you're kidding me, right? But this rationale is applied to case today. Well, even, hey, straight white male, even if you didn't do what we say you did, you're evil anyway. I bet you've got a swastika somewhere. And that type of attitude is used as sort of going after Donald Trump. And so, well, okay, even if he didn't do that, he's made some comments when he was been making, rallies, speeches at the rallies. He's been making comments. So if he said this, then he means that, which means his intentions were so and so, which means we can say what he really meant was, and therefore literally Hitler. So they go through this, and this is very much the thing today. But going back to those times in the 70s, it's very much the facts and the evidence. So if someone didn't do it, they didn't do it. But the idea was the innocent must not go to prison. And that was sort of the thread that ran through these things. And it was perceived that these allegations of rape and child molestation and so on were false, and the evidence would be found to prove it to be so. There were some sort of scenes in these things where the person that made the false accusation was, well, I kind of thought that you must have done it. Even, well, I don't know, maybe I was wrong. I'm sorry, Mr. Billy Bob. I'm glad that you were found innocent. And so they sort of went down that path rather than going, hey, you perjuring motherfucker, it's prison for you. So there was that sort of light handling, if you will, of the and often it was presented as simply a misunderstanding. For example, there was a girl who accused a man, the straight white male guy of abusing her. But it was proven that in this court drama, it was proven that psychologists had got into her head and said, yeah, that guy did it, didn't he? Yeah, and that had affected this young girl's evidence in giving evidence to court. And they had this quite young girl in the court, which I don't think would happen in real life, but anyway, for the dramatic effect. But Owen Marshall, counsel at law, he showed those bums. Now, the difference between those 1970s lawyer shows and the lawyer shows today couldn't have been greater. You could almost say they're in different universes, not just separated by a few decades, but separated by hundreds of years. One's from a medieval time and the other is from a modern day. It's hard to believe the difference. But when you think about the difference, I'll realize that it's purely ideological now. Ideological criminality is all that determines guilt. You're a straight white male with social power. We know you beat your wife. We know you molested your children, and we know we know that you've got swastikas tattooed onto your forehead. We know you own swastika. We know you love Hitler. We know literally Hitler, literally Nazi fat, and it's a purely ideological social power type gig, and it's vengeance, effectively a vengeance that those with lesser social power are inflicting on those with presumably or ideologically at least the most social power. Now, it also happens to fall very neatly in line with the globalist project, because the globalist project cannot tolerate those who expect to have independent courts, the rule of law, due legal process, elections of the highest integrity. The globalists cannot abide that. It gets in their way. They don't want it. It's an irritation of the first order. But who wants that? Do the people from, rural India or Sri Lanka or, the dark heart of Africa, do they give a shit about those things? Well, no, they don't. The only people that care about those things are the people that built the modern world, and that is white people, and particularly straight white males. So straight white males have to be got rid of, and their power has to be completely undermined. And this is what the Globalist Project is about and what it's doing. And that is why there is a huge difference between how justice was depicted in 1970 and how it's depicted today. You've been with Tastus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.